Welcome back to another episode of the Game Language Podcast, where we deduce, dissect, and discuss video games and whether or not they speak our language. I'm Troy, and with me always is
Jason.
What's up, man?
Oh, being hungover after a late night.
Yeah, you came in pretty late. I was up waiting for you. Where were you?
I was at Natalie's, which isn't a girl's house. It's a bar.
Yeah. Did you have a good time?
I did. I also fell out of my chair. So, whoever was there, yeah, that was me.
Starting 33 off right.
Oh, I know. It was great.
But aside from drinking at Natalie's, what you been playing?
Oh, quite a bit. I mean, I played the Monster Hunter Wilds beta.
Yep.
I've been playing a lot of Dragonage Veilguard, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and a lot of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
I'm still on that kick. Oh, and Monster Hunter Rise.
Yes, we've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter Rise.
A lot of games.
Yeah. What has been getting you, what keeps you locked in on Resident Evil?
Well, it's funny you say that. I just think it's a very well-made and well-paced games. They're games that I can turn on and usually at any point. I mean, it varies from title to title, but for the most part, when I turn them on, I just they're so paced. They're paced so well.
Yeah.
That, every part is good.
Yeah.
So when I pick it up and it's like, oh, I'm on chapter 4. That's not like a grown thing. Some games you'll be like, man, chapter 1 through 6, so good. 7 to 9 kind of ass, and then it picks back up for the finale.
Yeah.
Resident Evil just kind of rocks the whole time, and so anytime I'm just bored or I need a palate cleanse, I just throw on Resident Evil 2, 3, or 4, the remakes, or Village, which I recently started playing again, and I'm like, yeah, I'm having a good time.
That's what's up. I need to play Village again. I don't know if I even beat it. I don't think I beat Village.
I don't think you did either.
No, I think I got to close to the end, and then we just stopped playing. So I need to beat that.
Say, did you? I know I saw you guys beat the Dollhouse, which is scary.
Yeah. I beat the Dollhouse, and I had to do some recovering after that.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, I do not like scary games. Everything in my body says, you know what? We don't have to do this. Let's go play a fighting game or something else. There's no reason to be scared unless I have to be. I don't like them.
Yeah. No, it is funny that I like horror games, but I don't like super scary horror games.
Yeah.
I only like a horror game if I'm able to fight back. I cannot stand Outlast. I tried to play those games because everyone's like, oh, you like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, you should play this. I played it, I was like, this is trash. I hate it. Because I was just like, he's just gonna run at me. I've got a camera? Fuck this. But the only game I will say that didn't have combat that was scary that I liked was actually PT.
Yeah.
The demo. That's the only one that I was like, this is so scary and so good. I'm okay with it.
Are you ever in danger in PT that something's going to kill you?
Yeah, Lisa kills you.
Oh, okay.
The ghost. After you find her, she actually people who have hacked the game realize that her data, she's always just right behind you. And if you I don't know what the event is because I've been killed twice by her when I used to play it a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know what triggers it. She'll get you sometimes, and then she appears when she kills you, and you're like, oh.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Hideo does it again. He didn't even make a full game, and it was still a masterpiece. Yeah, what have you been playing?
Most of the same. I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty, which I never thought I would. I like Warzone, just as much as anybody else, but Call of Duty Black Ops really is, it's got its hooks in me. Yeah. There's something about the multiplayer, the time to kill. I don't mind. I feel like I've unlocked things relatively quickly. I'm always afraid of the whole process of unlocking weapons and attachments and so on and so forth. So being able to get to a gun that I liked, get to sights that I like, get to attachments that I like pretty relatively quickly has been nice. I do think that they need more operators because I only really like one operator, and I only get to play him half the time, So I'm excited for that. I did see that they're coming out with new maps on the 14th, I think.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. So they're coming out with 2 new maps. They're free content, and there's going to be a 2v2 mode. So I'm excited for that. I like anything that's extremely what is it? Well-crafted PvP. So one thing I normally don't really like these Call of Duty games is because you're running around just frantically shooting people. You shoot as many as you can, you die, call it a day. But I do like the idea of 2v2 where you got to stick together and work together to make sure that, if you run around and get killed, now your friend has to deal with it by himself. So we'll see how that mode is. Aside from Call of Duty, been playing a lot of Monster Hunter, grinding again for the same stuff I grinded for on the Switch, which a little tiring, but for some reason, every time I get in there and start smacking a monster, it feels good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can't help it. Working on killing Seregios a lot. That was a guy who I had to kill a bunch. He's like this bird dude or bird dragon, wyvern, so to speak. But yeah, just grinding that out. And I have also been playing Veilguard, which is not a bad game. I like it. I'm surprised by how much I like it, compared to how many people gave like bad recommendations or like crashed on the game. So yeah, Veilguard has been keeping me pretty excited. I like the visuals and whatnot. So
yeah, we'll get way more into that when we get because that one's on the docket for impressions later. But yeah, I have similar feelings where I was a lot more positive on it than I thought I would be based on like the initial reviews that we got. But without further ado, let's find out what's going on in the world of gaming with our 3 bites of news stories. Just on a random Tuesday, Nintendo's president tweeted out and officially confirmed that the new console will have backwards compatibility with the Nintendo Switch and with the Nintendo Online, so that will be carrying over. So the only reason that's a big deal is Nintendo has famously not had a lot of great like migration in the digital age. Back in the day, they always actually had pretty good backwards compatibility. Like you could play GameCube on Wii, Wii on Wii U. But in the era of like buying games digitally, the Wii U to Switch sucked because it was just like, dude, I lost all my games. It's like, and Nintendo games are famous for never going down in price. So it's like, I gotta pay $60 again to play these games.
Yeah.
So, really happy to hear that they'll have the forward thinking with this. But I'm also excited because that probably means all the games that I was like, this game runs like ass. I'm hoping that the Switch 2 just like makes it better. The next piece of news, this one's really makes me happy, is Astrobot has sold 1.5 million copies.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's doing very good for a platformer. And then also with another sales update was Nintendo did their quarter report. And the Nintendo Switch is at 146 million units sold.
Gee.
It is only 9 million away from passing PS2 and being the best-selling console of all time.
Nice.
I hope it hits that target because I have been sick of seeing the PS2 there the whole time. But yeah, there was also some pretty notable like sales milestones that just got reached. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is at 64 million sales. And then Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was another one that stuck out to me. It's at 35 million, which now makes it undisputedly the highest selling fighting game of all time. So it's pretty crazy. And then they also revealed that like almost every franchise on Switch, no, not almost every single franchise on Switch, like the Kirby, Metroid, and Pikmin, they're all selling better than they've ever sold. Like Kirby combined with like the Wii U and 3DS titles was only at like 5 million. The Switch Kirby games have already amassed over 15 million.
Wow,
so like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, pretty nuts. So happy for Nintendo, and I'm happy that it's paying off because that means that we'll get to see more of these franchises. It means that there's a little bit more hope for Kid Icarus to come back.
Dude, I had a dream recently where Kid Icarus got announced. It was so sad when I woke up. It was so sad when I woke up. It was like I don't often have very like lucid dreams. And that one I was like, Kid Icarus, finally. He announced it. And then I woke up and was like, no.
I think that we might actually be getting one because Sakurai's been working on a game and it's going to be announced soon.
Yeah. When do you think it'll be announced? Game Awards probably? Or
no, it'll be a Nintendo Direct probably in January, February is what I'm guessing.
Okay.
Just because Nintendo famously isn't like that big.
That popular there?
Yeah.
I mean,
They were their first year, but like legitimately every year after, they have like not cared to bring anything after they did the Joker reveal.
The Joker reveal. I think that was the last time I saw something crazy from them.
Yeah, because the same one they did Bayonetta 3's teaser at the end too. So it's like Nintendo doesn't like they did it for that one, and then they were like, yeah, we don't care anymore. We're just gonna do directs.
Yeah, the directs are too far and few between.
I know.
Or few and far between.
Yeah, well, especially since they just announced stuff on Twitter now, like a Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Yeah,
it's just like, hey, it's coming out, dude. Everybody's been wanting that. You're not gonna use it for a direct, and they're just like, see you in March. So, last bit of news: Remedy announced that after a year with Alan Wake 2 and its DLCs, it has finally recouped most of its development and marketing costs, which that is really good news for me. I mean, to me, because I loved Alan Wake 2. I thought it was incredible. And it made me really sad that they did not hit sales milestones.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that they've gotten most of it back. And so hope they now start to be profitable. I hope people give it a look because apparently its DLCs are really good. I haven't played them.
But I keep hearing that too, that the DLCs are good. And I think that it's a perfect game for me and Alex to play. I don't want to have to lug my PC out to the living room every time I play it. So I may buy it on PlayStation, but
I played it on PlayStation. It looked good.
Yeah.
It ran at 60 FPS.
I believe that, but you have the PC, so it's just like you always want to buy it on PC.
I mean, I'm in the same boat, but
maybe when I get the PS5 Pro, if it gets any updates on it,
It did.
It did?
Yeah, it got
perfect.
Upgrades.
Perfect. Then I'll most likely buy it when I get a PS5 Pro because that seems like a great game to play with her because she loves horror games. So
yeah, well, it's also a good game because it's very detective like. It's not a game. It is a horror, but it is not focused on the horror, if that makes sense. Like the game is about solving a mystery, and it's just a scary mystery.
That's awesome.
So, couldn't recommend it more. But that's going to be it for the news.
Then we are going to move right into my game for the variety section today, which I think is pretty on topic. So we're playing Monster Hunter Trivia. What I'm going to be doing is describing to you not describing, but each monster in Monster Hunter comes with a summary throughout the myriad of games that they've come out. And these summaries come from anywhere from World to Rise, even further back. But essentially, I'm going to be reading off these summaries, and it's your job to guess which monster this describes.
Okay.
And we're going to test your Monster Hunter knowledge. After playing a lot of Wilds and Rise, Monster Hunter has kind of just consumed any of my free time.
Yeah, same here.
So, starting with most likely an easy one. Colored in multicolor scales of orange, yellow, and brown. And you can interrupt me at any point, by the way. All right. This bird wyvern's body type resembles others of its kind, such as the Velocidrome or Monster Hunter World's Tsitsiyaku.
Is it Kulu-Yaku?
Yes. It is a Kulu-Yaku. This one, a bipedal flying wyvern that has hard armored plating across most of its body. Its distinct features include the large spike club tail, fangs, and massive dual horns in the front of its head.
Diablos?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, Diablos. All right, let's see if you can get this one. Precious few sightings of this elder dragon have been recorded, leading to claims it can vanish into the environment. Witnesses report that when enraged, it can spew fog-like breath, which seems to come out of nowhere and enhance its strength by licking pollen from petalises. I'll give you two guesses.
So it said petalises. I'm imagining it's from Rise. So, Magnamola?
No.
Okay.
I took out very specific words because it was its name essentially.
Oh, gotcha.
You want it one more time?
Is it Chameleos?
Damn, yes, it is Chameleos. Good job. Yeah. So far, 3 for 3. All right. A fanged wyvern that flies among the treetops. Its penchant to brush against the ground in the trees as it moves around builds up static electricity within its fur. This action allows it to reach charged state identified by its glowing fur, in which its head and tail attacks are said to be particularly lethal.
Is this an ogre?
No. No, not Zenogre.
Okay. I guess my other guess would just be Astalos.
No, Tobi Kodachi.
Tobi Kodachi.
Tobi
Nice.
Kodachi. Yes, I got you wrong. I got one. I got one. All right. This one's pretty short and sweet, but you should be able to figure this out. A bird wyvern known to store toxin within its body. It uses its tongue-like whip and can stretch. Yeah, it's Puke. Puke. I hate that guy.
I love him.
I love his armor. Hate him. All right, this one. I hate this motherfucker. All right. An ultra-aggressive creature that is rarely sighted and seldom survived. Those that have survived report that it exhibits a strange attack. These monsters are said to be loners and this isolated life that has made it difficult to pin down its territorial leanings. When enraged, part of its pelt turns into a golden color.
Is it Tigrex?
No.
Oh. Seregios?
No, I thought the pelt turning gold would give it away. Rajang.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I hate that motherfucker. all my homies hate Rajang. All right. Fanged wyverns whose bodies are streaked with electricity. Sharp claws and strong limbs allow them to thrive in the mountain terrain. During hunts, they gather numerous thunderbugs to boost their power and enter in a supercharged state.
Is this an ogre?
It is an ogre.
Okay.
That one is an ogre.
It's like the bugs is what.
Yeah.
I was like, the Fulgur bugs.
Like, I can't get rid of it because it's like it's taking too much out of the summary, and I wanted to try to only take out very specific items because I feel like it would be untrue to them. And so, yeah, as soon as I saw the super bugs, I'm like, yeah, it's going to give it away. But we'll put it in there, see what happens. All right, I got 3 more for you. Terrible wyverns called Kings of the Skies, along with I done gave it away.
Is it Rathalos or Rathian? Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I started reading it, I was like, I'll read out the whole thing. Along with Rathian, they stake wide territories centered around their nests. They descend on invaders from the sky, attacking with poison claws and breath fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you know what's funny? It's my hot take. I hate that monster.
Yeah.
Me and Rathalos are not friends.
I actually like fighting Rathalos as a bow main because anytime he goes up there, the most satisfying thing is shooting him out of the sky. It just feels so good to watch his body tumble and then, beat his ass.
Well, that's fair. He is one of the examples of the I just run and I'm a giant hitbox.
Yeah.
It's like one of my least favorite designed things in video games. I'm just like, he keeps moving.
Yeah, he goes back and forth.
And he does it like 6 times more than any other monster. I'm just like, I hate you, dude.
if you want him to stop, grab trap bugs. Trap bugs will trip up a monster. They'll stop whatever their action that they're doing currently and then move on to the next one.
That's fair.
All right. The apex monster of the Coral Highlands, whose diet primarily consists of raffinos. It emits a chilling wind from its body.
Legiana.
Damn it.
I was wondering what Apex would be. I was like, oh, is this going to be Namiel, the water elder dragon? But then as soon as it's ice, there's only one Apex.
Well, let's see if I can get you with this last fucking one. All right. This belligerent monster, Jason, will attack anything without hesitation. The membrane along its tail...
Devil Joe.
No.
Oh. Okay.
No. Along its tail fans out, and when it is provoked, a behavior theorized to be either... Oh, God, this is so weird. Theorized to be either an act of intimidation or thermogulation, as it is known to do so when it breathes fire.
It's not basil geese?
No, I'll read it again.
Well, I mean, I failed. I got I tried to.
I feel like this description was a little bit weird, so I'll give it one more time to see if you can get it. This belligerent monster will attack anything without hesitation. The membrane along its tail fans out when it is provoked, a behavior theorized to be either an act of intimidation or thermogulation, as it has been known to do so when it breathes fire. One more guess.
I'm gonna feel dumb. I feel like when I hear it, but
there's like one thing that gives it away.
Yeah, it has a membrane on its tail. I feel like I should know what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost on it.
All right, Anjanath.
It's got a membrane on its tail?
Yeah, you know when it gets the thing that comes up, the wings on its back and tail?
Oh, see, I never noticed it on its tail. I'm going to pay attention to that when I fight him again. But I've always noticed it on his back and his nose.
Yeah, and on his nose, yeah.
No,
But
that's crazy.
So Anjanath and Toby Kadachi. Who would have thought those would have got you?
I know.
All right, but that's it for my Monster Hunter trivia.
That was great.
Yeah, hopefully you learned a little bit about these monsters before Jason ruined the description. I'm kidding. But we're going to go ahead and take our break. Afterwards, we're going to go into our impressions of the Monster Hunter Wilds beta, Dragonage Veilguard, and a game that I brought today. One of my favorites.
Welcome back. Hope you had a nice break. Hope it was cozy. But we're going to get here in impressions. And we got 2 big games this week. Monster Hunter Wilds beta and Dragonage the Veilguard. We're going to start with Monster Hunter Wilds, the beta here. Troy, what's your overall feelings before we get into the nitty-gritty of pros and cons?
Like overall? I would say overall, excited. Not to like sum it up into one word. I'd say I'm excited. I'm like hopeful, a little bit validated, in my feelings towards what I think it was going to be. And we'll dive into each category and each piece, but yeah, overall everything is looking right for Monster Hunter.
Yeah. I put when I was like thinking of my thoughts, I put my overall rating could very easily become my favorite game of all time. So I'm going to be very positive.
Yeah.
Which is actually why I want to start with cons first, because I don't have that many. So the cons that I do have, the largest gripe I have with this game in its beta is its unintuitive menu interface.
Yeah.
I was able to get to grips with it after some exploring, but trying to link up with friends was miserable. The tabs and sections you would need to go to and the descriptions of them left my friends and I scratching our heads while involuntarily muttering, "Why is this so damn confusing?"
Yeah.
Which, shout out to all our friends. That was the first thing that happened when trying to link up with each other. The other is performance. On PS5, this game was running at like 35 to 40 FPS in resolution mode and possibly 45 to 60 in performance. I didn't stick in performance very long because getting the higher frame rates would require you to be okay with looking at what appeared to be Vaseline smudged all over your screen due to how fuzzy and low the resolution was. I do think it's important to remember the game has 4 months until release, and this build was from June, so I'm confident it will be fixed, but I would feel disingenuous if I didn't at least mention it.
Yeah.
Now, on PC, it was incredible to me, except for one thing, and that was poppin'. This doesn't bother me too much, but it was impossible to not notice.
Yeah.
And I hope it will get fixed in the final version. And then the last minor gripe I have with the game is not really a con since it can be switched, but I do think the default controls for the new secret mount are just plainly ass. Thankfully, you can customize them to where they feel incredible, but I do think it's confusing why Capcom thought that default control type, which should be the one that people get their first experience with.
Yeah.
What about you? What are some things that you
to touch base with the first con, where you were saying that the menus were an issue. At first, I thought that I was a problem. I was like, maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I'm not reading carefully or making paying attention to the menus. But I got more and more using the word again, validated that it wasn't me when I started to see that every single person that we would play with would have issues with coming to grips with the menus when they first got on the game, to the point where you and I had to kind of guide everybody on how to do it properly.
I felt like I was an IT support
guy.
Yeah.
I felt like I was troubleshooting. And then there's, you have a wide range of people are going to be playing this game. And there are some people who are just no shame on them, but the menu is just too confusing for them to get into it, to the point where they're probably just going to play something else. Or if they're trying to play with friends, they're going to play something else because they can't get to play with their friends. The menu interface, I think the whole concept of linked parties and linked environments, I understand the reasoning, but that would be my first gripe is, hey, how do you make it so that people can just get together quickly, especially with them being playing with people who are going to be cross-platform? I don't need even more menus to go into to find my friend by their Monster Hunter code or something along those lines. There needs to be a way that's easier to do that. Secondly, Also, to talk about performance, I do think that the pop-in and some of I didn't have much stuttering, but it was something just felt a little choppy with the game. And I do think that all of that will get polished out by the time it releases. Again, this is, like you said, the June version of the game. And I absolutely have no... how do I say this? I have no belief that this is going to be anywhere near the final product.
Yeah.
I just don't think so. This is, it was rough, but a lot of the stuff that we saw was absolutely like you wouldn't want to ship the game in this state. Too many times would you load into an area and it would take a while for everything around you to load, and it would be at PS1 graphics. It was just so bad.
I was going to say, I know that that's true. It didn't happen to me as much, but at the same time, like, I'm not going to tell people that it's good when I, spent $2,000+ on my PC. Yeah. It better run good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's super well optimized, but I do believe, they've commented that that's going to be their focus.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Based off of each of the other products that they've provided us, I do think that the final package we get will be good. And if it's not perfect, nothing's perfect, but if it's not up to our standard, they'll keep working on it. And then finally, the secret settings. Like, I understand based off of them wanting you to be able to have secret running while you're managing your menus, or now we're going to be attacking from mounts. So maybe you want secret to maintain a max speed while you're doing attacks. I can understand that they did the sort of hit a button multiple times to maximize acceleration, hit another button to minimize or decelerate, so that you can manage other things while you're doing that. But overall, I think that Secret's mounting controls are just too far away from the Hunter controls, and the Hunter controls are already technically cumbersome. So it's like, why have two separate cumbersome control types?
Yeah.
And I do like that they give you the option to turn it back, but they should, in the immediate, like, not settings, but when you first get Secret, they should ask you which type you want to use.
Yeah, I think that would be actually really good if they just like pop up the settings menu when you first get a Secret and say, hey, how would you like to control this?
Just show a small video of the examples and let me choose which settings on controlling Secret, so that people don't have to go and change it. And maybe it's those settings we'll find later on as we play the game aren't very good for what we're going to be doing. But there could be thousands of things that we're going to be doing on the back of Secret, and we realize that controlling him while trying to do that causes issues.
See, that's the thing that confuses me, though, is because you can switch to auto mode with the press of the up D-pad. I'm always confused at why their manual mode was so automated.
Because, for example, the auto mode, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but the auto mode is to automatically follow your target. But say you don't have a target and you just need Secret to run forward while you're doing something. I can understand turning on acceleration while you're managing menus to do that. And you don't have a target right now. You just need Secret to run forward because there's something that you want to get to while you're doing stuff. So I can understand. I just don't agree with it,
Yeah, no, I get that. I was going to say, it's, again, they let you customize it. So that's why it's like a half con, half pros, because I'm like, I actually really like Secret once you get the controls right.
Yeah,
I think it's an amazing mount, but the default one left me puzzled and more frustrated.
It made a lot of people frustrated. It seemed like most people, when they would get on there, like, why does he keep running? Why won't he stop?
Yeah, why is auto explore the default? I was just like, that is...
Yeah, I think that a couple of... Yeah, I think that I've learned that when it comes to Secret, they had I'm not going to say they had a vision of what they wanted to be done, but I think that what they think the player wants isn't entirely in tune with what the player actually wants. And maybe they just need to backpedal a little bit and say, hey, if you want a more explorative mode, here's Secret explorative mode. He'll run for you. He'll look around and auto explore, whatnot. You want manual control Secret? Here's manual control Secret for those who want to be in control at all times. Give us the options when we first jump on Secret.
Yeah, I agree. But that's about my only cons with the game. I have a couple of things that I think are mild, and I'll get more into it. But those are the only negatives I'm having with the game in its current state. So pros, where to begin? I'll start with character creator. I loved it. While it doesn't hit the highs of Dragon Age or Dragon's Dogma's creator, I found the wealth of options to be enough. And knowing Capcom's history with the series, I'm sure there will be even more added post-launch. I don't think they're going to add more before the game. Like, what we got is what you'll have on launch day. But Capcom likes those microtransactions in Monster Hunter. So if you are a little disappointed by the hair choices, I guarantee they'll have quite a few. Give it like 3 months for you to just buy. Which sucks, but, it's there. The Palicos, your feline companions, also got a glow up in terms of making long and short hair cats. I made a very fluffy cat, and I was very happy. They can now speak as well, although you can disable this if you prefer the meow meows. But I found the English voices to be oddly charming for me. I know I was kind of alone on that. Most people switched it to the meows, but I actually quite enjoyed the charm of it. In the beta, we couldn't customize the secrets, but the director has stated in interviews that we will be able to change their feather colors and armor. So that's where it is on customization. How'd you feel about customization?
So I have some goods and bads about customization. I'm going to always make this comment. I don't think there is enough black hairstyles, especially after playing Dragon Age Veilguard and seeing how much effort they put into having black hairstyles. They have over 20 of them. There's plenty to be had and plenty to make up. We'll call them textured hairstyles because it doesn't necessarily have to be black. It's just for my type of hair. So, and I do know that when DLC comes along, there will be hairstyles for me, but it's why not just have them already in the game? Yeah. So, it's always going to be a common complaint, especially if you're trying to reach a higher audience. Not all of them have afros, fades, or dreads or cornrows. There's other types of hairstyles you can do, So, but the small gripe, I always put a helmet on my guy anyway, so I'll only see my hairstyle for a little while, so it doesn't really matter. But to get into the pros of the character customization, I actually think that there's a few things that they've done that I've wanted in other games that no game has done for me yet. Number one, I like the mix and match you can do with the starting gear. I think that's such a cool concept. Yep. They give you in so many different games I've played with character creators, you get a starting outfit. Sometimes you don't even get a starting outfit. You get here's an example of what your armor might look like in the future. You know what I mean? And so not only do you get your starting armor, you get a list of starting armors A through D or something like that, and you get to mix and match the types and the colors to make a unique look from the get-go. And that's the first time I've ever seen it in a character creator, and I'm going to really appreciate that type of customization, because already out the gate, my guy is unique compared to what my friend may have made. We're not two separate dudes wearing the exact same clothes. We can mix and match and make the clothes that we want, and that's really cool. Yeah, I really liked that as well. Next up is the look of armors and weapons. For me, they are a huge upgrade in design from World and Rise's starting weapons. Yeah. The mix of leather and steel is a personal preference of mine, and I think Wild's nailed it. What were your thoughts on the armor and weapons? Yeah, actually, I agree, and I think that you'll notice that as Monster Hunter continues to grow and mature, the armors get smaller and smaller and more realistic. Less, and I don't know if that might be negative to those who are fans of classic Monster Hunter. I'd very much like to have a conversation with them and see, but for me, as things become more compact and go from being I look like I'm wearing a football gear, I'm wearing shoulder pads and everything, which they do have something kind of like that, but it feels like it's more form-fitting and realistic. I like that more. Yeah, I don't like it when it looks, because I don't mind the football look, because football, it's armor. Yeah. But I don't like it when it looks like I have a cylinder block as a shoulder pad. And I'm just what the hell? Yeah, I don't really like it when my character has to clip to convey what is the word? Actual motion. So when they go to lift their arms, the shoulder pads have to clip through them, because otherwise they wouldn't actually have that range of motion. So I never really liked that in Monster Hunter, and they normally do that in each of the games. In World and Rise, I noticed that similar thing is when you got to the expansions, the armors got far more angular, compact, and much, I would say, cooler, but less like big and bulky and silly. They did it in Iceborne and they did it in Sunbreak, and now they're starting off that way. So I'm interested to see when the DLC comes out for this game, what is their armor going to look like that looks better than the armor? Because they always try to make it look better and more detailed and cooler. How is that going to look compared to like the starting Wilds armor?
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. It just got me excited. So for them to start off the base like this, I think it's a great jumping off point.
One thing I want to tack on is that I think it's already, I saw how cool it was that armor is no longer gender locked, because we have a friend who's like, dude, you know how long I've been waiting to show some midriff in Monster Hunter? And I'm like, I'm happy for him because his character looks amazing.
I was gonna say, yeah, he looked incredible when he mixed and matched.
Yeah, like the what he put together was probably one of my favorite of the outfits, and I'm always excited to see him take he does that in almost all the games we play, where he takes like what I would consider like too feminine or something for my character to wear, and he like makes it into this really cool combination. And I'm like, man, that outfit looks tight. I don't know why I was thinking like I wasn't cool enough to show some midriff. I got abs. My character's got abs, and I never show them off. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I want to show off.
Yeah. So I already saw that, and I was just like, yeah, this is sick.
Yeah, I was gonna say I mixed it because I liked the default armor, but the female armor had the hood down.
Yeah.
And I liked that look a lot. That's like my preferred look. So being able to do that with like the normal coat without having it like be a skirt, I was like, dude, this is sick. I'm already a fan of it. But moving on to the next part of the beta, I'm going to talk about the zones. So the one zone we were allowed to play in was the Windward Plains, a desert that shifted into 3 distinct flavors: plentiful, barren, and stormy. Plentiful was beautiful, and there were pockets of oases, which were a joy to discover. Barren was obviously devoid of beauty, but it was incredibly cool how our hunters and the monsters would get covered in the dirt and the sand. I thought that was just a really cool detail that they did. And then there's Stormy, which usually happened when the apex predator Raydao showed up. But Stormy is cool, and honestly, with the rampant lightning strikes, I never felt like I had a second to take in my surroundings, but I feel that was intentional, and I thoroughly enjoyed the increase in tension and panic that brought. What did you think of the Windward Plains?
So the Windward Plains was cool to see what is normally the first 3 standard level like areas in a like Monster Hunter world, all combined into one. You've got like the coral rocky area, you had the desert area, and then you had the foresty area. All of those combined, well, plainsy area, but you had those all combined into one area that was pretty seamless when you'd go from part to part. One thing I would say is, with them making an even bigger map than normal, there's always that fear that there's going to be certain areas or parts that are forgettable. I feel like the bigger it is, the more chances that you're getting just flat land that you have to travel to get to the next place. And Monster Hunter has always kind of been a boss rush on a stage that you kind of like a map that you get familiar with. And it was cool that even now I can remember paths and things that I took and had iconic areas that I will remember for a very long time in that small beta that we played. And it's just another testament to how they take good care in level design to make things that are like memorable areas, even in this new form that they're doing.
Yeah, I also didn't find I thought the map would feel a lot bigger, to be completely honest. And I was surprised at how it is bigger than like World and Rise. Yeah, but I actually still felt that that I was able to get comfortable with it and learn it very quickly, much like traditional Monster Hunter stages. So it's surprising how their team is able to do that. They've got some wizards on their design team.
There were definitely areas that were inaccessible. And I'm really interested to see that when the game fully releases. What is the transition period from area to area? Is there a loading screen or something like that? Is it like seamless? What's going on with those areas that I was unable to go to? So I want to know.
Yeah, one of the areas looked like it goes right to the forest. So I was like, I don't know how that'll work.
Yeah, I wonder if we only played a portion of one of the open zones.
Yeah, that's the other thing is I don't know if we even got the complete Windward Plains.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it has me extremely excited because deserts are usually my least favorite.
Yeah.
And I was surprised at how much I thoroughly enjoyed this area. But speaking of Raydao, the monsters in the beta were a treat to witness and hunt. There were 4 monsters in total for this beta: Chotacabra, Doshiguma, Balahara, and Raydao. They all shine to me in their own unique ways, but I found Chotacabra, the new jobber of the game akin to Great Jagras and World, to be a personal favorite in this beta. One of the new features in Wilds is that monsters will hunt in packs. I feel positive overall of this change, but I would be lying if I didn't say I found it really annoying at times. But the game requiring me to use all those shit pods that we pick up is a definite plus, as I like the game requiring me to use more of my equipment instead of just being an Unga Bunga hunter 24/7.
Yeah.
So, how'd you feel about the monsters, and who was your personal favorite?
So I have to agree. I think Chotacabra was my favorite.
Yeah.
Because I always like a monster that has a definitive. How do I say this? Like they put something on, and it's your job to break it. One of my favorites in Rise is Gosharag, because there's a moment where he puts on these ice swords, and the sound and the feeling of breaking those swords is extremely satisfying. And so that's why I like him. Chotacabra is similar. He puts on rocks on his wrists, and so the sound that it makes when I'm shooting the wrists and then I actually break them is satisfying. So I like that sort of risk and reward where a monster powers himself up, but it's also your job to like break that spot. So it gives me something to aim for. I did like Doshiguma also. I thought Doshiguma was a fun monster. I think that his design was really cool, and like I like that he had like a huge herd of them all the time. It was really cool to be attacked by a wild pack of dogs, essentially.
Yeah.
In wilds. And I'm hoping that I get to a point where my character is strong enough that I, instead of, shit podding them and they all run away, that it's satisfying to beat up a bunch of them. Like we're in the opportunity. We finally have this opportunity where we can get a herd of large monsters and fight them all, and how satisfying it might be to like Dragon Piercer through 4 monsters,
Yeah.
So, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I was a big fan of them. I will say, just wanted to comment on Raydao. Did you find him to be surprisingly easier?
Yeah, he's very easy. He was surprisingly easy for what I thought would be the goal for the beta, was to like get good enough at the game to hopefully beat Raydao before the beta ends. But you can beat Raydao pretty much every time he showed up.
Well, it was funny because like I'm not like, don't take this as bragging or anything, but like legitimately Matt was waiting for me to finish my hunt because he got on while I was in the middle of the hunt, and I got attacked by Raydao. I was playing solo. I killed him without carding in 14 minutes, and I was just like, how? I was like, this guy he's shooting rail cannons. I thought I should die, and so I'm hoping that it was just because of the beta they maybe overtuned us, but I felt he was a little disappointing on the power scale. yeah
they might have cut all of the monsters like health and damage down or something, because I can understand it not being fun where a bunch of new people are playing the beta and Raydao shows up and kills them in one shot, and they're like, every time this guy shows up I just die and I have to start all over. It's a long process to get right back to the hunt in Monster Hunter. You got to grab all your items, eat again, go get on your secret, ride off and find your monster again. So maybe they tested that and saw that people didn't like that. I don't know. I guess I'm giving them excuses, but I would have liked Raydao to be stronger, because I would have had something that I would have been fighting for and like perfecting myself to beat before the beta ended. Yeah,
so it was just kind of crazy how easy he felt.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to comment on with the monsters is what was the name of that the like slithery dude? Balahara. I really like that the turf war that Balahara has against Doshiguma is like a pack of Balaharas attacking him. That's cool. I don't think I've seen that before, where it's multiple monsters attacking. And again, we're just getting to a point where they're putting more monsters on screen than we've seen before. And that opens up an opportunity for so many different experiences that I could not have even dreamed of.
Yeah. No, I definitely felt that way too.
Yeah.
The turf. I am so excited for the full game to see the turf wars.
Yeah, the turf wars are going to be amazing.
Next thing I wanted to talk about is Secret, who is a very welcome addition to the hunting party. I found once I switched the control type, I fell massively in love with the mount. Being able to call them whenever and attacking monsters while riding them has made the hunt so much more engaging to me. And having them be the way you switch weapons on the fly was such an inspired choice, in my opinion. And I found myself feeling very connected to the mount in ways I just never did with Palamutes in Rise. Though I do miss the Mario Kart style drift boost you would get from the old canines, but it's easy for me to overlook when controlling Secret feels as good as it does for me. It feels like Palamutes, because I've gone and retested it, but Palamutes feel like they're almost on an 8-way direction. Like they don't feel like they have like smooth 360 degree motion. The Secret does. And that trumped it for me. I do like you can still drift though.
I feel like the Secrets are the evolution of Palamutes. I think Palamutes were a great test. I understand their limitations, but now that we've had Palamutes and we've had Secrets, I don't think we can ever go back. That feeling of having the mount and it also being this mobile like, I don't know what the right word is, but you can switch your weapon. You can check their like items, their item pack. They have the items that you have for the quest on them. So you don't have to go back to a chest and check to see if you've got the first aids.
You also can get them stolen.
Oh, yeah.
When you go into a hunt, everyone has to go through their own secret.
Yeah.
No more of those, selfish little hunters stealing all the first aids and rations.
Yeah, no. It is nice. It is nice. It is I think the Secret was a perfect evolution of Palamutes. It's really hard for me to criticize too much of them aside from the default controls. Not the fact that the controls were bad, it was just that they were defaulted to that. But yeah, I do like the Secret. I think the only thing they could do to make them even better is and this is a personal thing, is just make their attacking on them count as mounting damage. That's the only thing. For melee.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you get that when you jump off them. That counts as a mount. That's
true. It absolutely counts if you jump off of them. But it would make it funny to be slicing up a monster on the side and then get to jump on them automatically from it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think that it's a bad choice. I don't think it's bad that they don't, but
yeah, it's not bad that they don't. I think
it'd be a huge bit.
It's my own personal like dream, you know? So it's not at all like a problem that I have. They didn't do anything wrong. It's my own personal dream. Like, how cool would it be to just be like slicing them up and then your hunter automatically jumps onto them from it instead of jumping and making a mistake and like maybe you get hit or maybe you miss and then you got to call them again and do it again because there's not a lot of stuff for you to jump off of nearby. That's the only thing I thought is like how could they make it easier since we come from Rise where at any point you can get aerial to start doing mounting damage.
Yeah. I was going to say, there is one thing I actually also wanted to comment on the Secrets design that I liked. Yeah. I like that they don't attack.
Yeah.
I felt like I had too much of a mini army with me when I was in Rise. I like Rise, so don't take it too negative, but I did think it was weird to add another attacking companion because my Palico is always attacking with me. So having Secret be the more utility companion, I think was a much better choice because I think Palamutes would have been really cool if they just were mounts instead of being another damage.
I think you're right. I think having all that on the screen is a bit busy, and it's nice to be able to see your own strength without having a bunch of other stuff doing things. There are times where like you and I have tested it before where we had to take them off to check what our actual damage is because they were doing too much. You know? Yeah. So I agree.
Now, next part is there's a new focus on story is obviously something I can't fully evaluate since we only got one story mission in the beta. But so far, I feel the narrative is serviceable, though not immediately compelling. But the cutscene choreography and direction is very much up there with Capcom's best and shines particularly bright in action scenes. Conversely, though, I found the characters to be immediately likable. The new handler, Alma, is a highlight, and while I'm not a world handler hater by any stretch, because I liked her, I do think Alma shines faster and brighter than she did. I immediately was more
Drawn
to her. Now, Gemma, the new smith, is also awesome. And while we didn't get to engage with her much due to the smithy being down during the beta, her character design is fantastic, and I imagine she'll become a fan favorite when the game fully releases. What did you think of the new narrative direction and stuff?
I like the narrative direction. I like that our hunter talks a lot. I think that helps bring some personality to them. Both with it's funny, both with Dragon Age Veilguard and Monster Hunter Wilds beta, I noticed how much I like having my hunter feel like less of an NPC that everybody's talking to, and somebody who is equal to a main character from a character action game. I think that they did a good job. I did play the game in Japanese just because I like playing Monster Hunter in Japanese. I don't really like understanding what they're saying. It's like this weird headcanon I have.
I liked it. I'm sad that they got rid of Monster Hunter language.
Monster Hunter language, yeah.
Because that's what I was going to play this game in, but I'm playing it in English since...
The English is not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all. I do like playing it in Japanese. I think that a lot of their cutscenes, like you said, are really good. I think their transitions from cutscene to gameplay is going to be really fun. I'm excited to see what they do with that in the future and how they set that up for not only huge I don't know what the right word to use is, but monsters that mean a lot, kind of like Valkana, things like that.
Yeah.
What kind of cutscenes they're going to have for us interacting with them, for raid monsters that they have, what kind of cutscenes we may get with all 4 of us in them, and how it transitions. I think that one thing you can always count on when it comes to Capcom is cinematic, cinema. Cinema. But I'm excited for it. And yeah, I do like Alma. I think Alma was a great choice. I think her design is a lot softer than the last handler. I think the last handler wasn't bad, but I don't think she reached outside of NPC level design. She didn't have a lot of memorable things about her. Alma, she's got the glasses. Her hairstyle is cool. I think her outfit is very laid back and modern. And then what is the Smith's name?
Gemma.
I think she's got a good design. I think she's typical Capcom design.
Yeah.
She's going to be just as popular as the mechanic in Final Fantasy 15. Yeah.
It's funny you say that. My friend Tanner and I were talking yesterday, and that's exactly what he said. He's like, dude, who was the mechanic in 15? I was like, Cindy. He's like, yeah, the Smith and Wilds reminds me of Cindy.
Yeah,
I was like,
blonde,
that's great.
Blonde, busty, mechanic girl. It's gonna get a lot of attention. But I do particularly like Alma. I think her design is really cool, and I love that she hangs out with you and rides around with you almost all the time. She's on the secret right behind you, and you can turn around and interact with her to start or join quests and things like that. So they did good.
Yeah, I was gonna say Alma was my favorite character. Next up is combat. The meat and bones of the series is, unsurprisingly, my favorite part of the game. There are 3 major mechanics added to the combat loop this time, along with adjustments to almost all facets of the core loop. The 3 new mechanics are focus mode, power clashes, and offset attacks. Focus mode is the only mechanic that is available to all 14 weapons, while power clashes are only available to weapons that can guard, and offset attacks are given to heavy attack weapons, but not always, as I believe Charge Blade did not have an offset attack, despite being a large weapon that you would think would have it. So let's start with focus mode, since everything got to use that. I love this mechanic. With only the short time we had with the beta, it has done irreversible damage to my brain, as playing Monster Hunter without it now feels like fighting in my underwear. You activate focus by holding the left trigger and aiming. That's it. It's such a simple concept, but it elevates the combat, in my opinion, to such a great degree. Greatsword, my beloved, has become so much more fluid, which is not a word I would have ever thought to describe such a hefty weapon. The other part of focus mode is the new focus attacks, which are unique attacks you use to break wounds / parts on the monsters. They are super flashy and have an extremely satisfying crunch to them. Wounding monsters and going for the focus attacks is my personal favorite addition to the combat loop, and the dopamine levels it achieves for me made the beta's end all the more depressing. What did you think of focus mode?
I liked focus mode a lot. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. So for one, I'm a bow main, so I've been doing focus mode my entirety, the entirety of my Monster Hunter career.
Yep.
So focus mode is not new to me, aiming at specific parts. But when I did play Charge Blade and use focus mode, I liked it quite a bit. It's not a complaint. So what it did to me is it made me want to play Monster Hunter as a bumper game, like
Soul Style.
Like Soul Style.
Yeah.
Because I'm immediately thinking about optimization. I always think about optimization. And you can aim everything. You can aim everything from the start to the end of a combo. You can make like I tested it. You can do a 3-string combo and make the first hit in front of you, the second hit behind you, and then the last hit to the side of you. You can control it to that level. And that to me is like amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want to change my buttons all around, because imagine being able to attack the part of the monster you want every time, all the time, period. With using the bumper, I would be able to constantly be aiming at the leg all day. I wouldn't have to worry about anything. I would be in focus mode like 90% of the time, unless I ran into a situation where I didn't want to be. But you can't change your buttons like that. So I'm going to have to figure out how to come to terms with that, because they introduced like all these possibilities to me, but also limited me. And I'm like, and I understand that because Monster Hunter controls are so distinct and like intentional that if you go and change too much around, you can run into a situation where the game becomes unplayable. It's not as freeform as some other games. Everything has like a very specific job. And so I understand that they don't let you change everything, which I wish they did, because I could have probably, after 5 or 6 hours of sitting down and messing with controls, the best controlling like action game I've played ever in my life.
You might want to look into getting a DualSense Edge or something with bumpers. I heard people online say that, because I looked into it because you were talking about it. You're not the only one who feels that way about the new focus mode with Melee.
Yeah.
But some people were commenting. They're like, "Yeah, I got that by just using the bumpers."
So the bumpers counted?
Well, yeah, because you map the bumpers to whatever button you want. So people just put triangle and circle on the back.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna buy that so fast. I'm gonna buy that so fast. You have no idea. I'm gonna buy that immediately.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I was like, hey, I saw that online. I saw quite a few people talking about it, and I thought that would be the solution for you.
That is the solution. That is absolutely. I was thinking inside the box. I wasn't thinking outside the box. I wasn't thinking about the peripheral. I didn't think about it. I was like, it's mouse. I'm probably going to have to be mouse and keyboard now. But no, I just have to buy the correct controller.
Yep.
You don't know how happy I am.
I'm glad I could help, brother.
Yeah, you have no idea.
So I want to move on from focus attacks to power clashes. This is when you guard big attacks against monsters at the right timing. Your reward for doing so is a sick animation of you holding off the monster and sending it reeling back at the end. I only did this a few times myself, but I saw you pull it off several times. And I was able to always attack because Alma would tell me when you would get the power clash.
Yeah.
So what did you think of power clashes, especially since you got way more of them than I did?
Dude, it's awesome. It's awesome. And I think that the reason I got so many of them is because it is part of the how do I say this? I think that some of these things, and we'll take this thought into offset attacks when we talk about them, but some of these actions are designed specifically for certain weapons. Mm-hmm. And I do think that Power Clash is designed for shield type weapons. I know that every weapon now can like perfect block, because that's a thing that they added, like Greatsword can perfect block, but part of Charge Blade is perfect blocking to power up your shield. Mm-hmm. So you're going to want a perfect block. It's part of the properly maintaining that weapon. So that's the reason that I got it so many times, because it's something I was aiming for to buff my shield. And it's very sick. Yeah. It is so cool. It's funny how janky it is, because there are times where I would power clash with a monster and they'd be standing to the side of me and I'd be standing here and I'm just like, I'm not touching anything. I'm touching your hitbox. You're over there chewing on grass or something, and I'm stabbing nothing, but it counts. and I learned because of that and certain other things, especially like focus attacks. I forgot to mention that I think that when these actions happen, the hitboxes for the monsters are way bigger than the monster actually is. There's times when I did the focus attack, and the follow-up I would do with the charge blade is like you stick the axe in the air and it buzzsaws, and the monster gets hit and falls over. 50% of the time, I wasn't even touching the monster.
That happened with Greatsword as well.
Yeah.
I'd be dragging the air.
You'd be dragging the air.
I think it's because they guarantee you the damage once you've locked into the attack.
Exactly, and there's so many variables that go into it that cause that to like disconnect from each other, and then you guys are both stuck in separate animations, which is very goofy, but I overlook it because I enjoy Monster Hunter.
I think it benefited the gameplay more than, because like obviously with immersion it looks it's janky and goofy.
Yeah.
But I found the positives of the gameplay experience made it to where I was able to overlook it.
I agree. And so that's one thing about the Power Clash is that it was just funny to see myself blocking nothing. But regardless, doesn't matter. I didn't even think about it because I was too busy enjoying the feedback of what happened, you know? And I think that that's a fun thing to talk about when it comes to Monster Hunter is how sometimes the animations disconnect from the action, but still get overlooked because of somehow it's still satisfying.
Yeah. Now, to move on to offset attacks, this was the last edition. This is essentially a power counter. Instead of defending at the right time on big attacks, you have to use a specific attack move at the right time on big attacks. It's important to note that it doesn't work on most attacks, and to me, I appreciate the team requiring me to study monster attack patterns to find these opportunities, because pulling them off rewards you with, in my opinion, the coolest animations in the game. A flash happens, you see the monster reel backwards as your character gets buffed up and shoots his slinger to pull himself at the monster, and you get to control when you release your running attack. It's incredible.
Yeah.
My only complaint with it is that I can't believe it's not used on very many weapons. Like, it was weird. On Switch Axe and Greatsword, I got it. But then I know it's available on Hammer as well. But Longsword? Nope.
Yeah, Longsword doesn't have either one, which is weird.
Yeah.
And Charge Blade,
that one
boggles my mind.
Yeah.
So, and it could be that I just didn't do it right, but there's nothing that said in the instructions that I had an offset attack, and I tried clashing with most of the moves I had. So I leave myself open to be corrected, but I don't think Charge Blade has offset attack.
Yeah.
Which was sad because every time I saw it, I'm like, I want to do that. That offset attacks, in my opinion, are absolutely the coolest, most satisfying move in the game. 100%. Every weapon should have that opportunity to do offset. They should either do offset or power clash or both. But not like some weapons do some and some weapons do both. I don't really like that because you kind of feel left out.
Yeah, I'm surprised at the number of weapons that don't have either, because dual blades and longsword and bow and bow guns, none of them have those moves. Well, actually, that's wrong. Heavy bowgun has power clash. It's able to defend. But yeah, so really love it. I just hope that they'll add it to more weapons.
Yeah, I agree. I think that maybe it's too difficult to do with the ranged weapons, but I think it could be really cool if you Dragon Piercer when a monster is attacking and you get a power clash or a offset because of it, you know. But maybe that could be too easy to do.
Yeah,
you never know. So
I was gonna say, because offset attacks are not that easy to pull off.
Yeah,
but
they're normally big wind up moves that you have to time properly.
Yep, and because again, you can only do it on certain attacks against the monster.
Yeah, it
really makes you have to like prepare for it. Now, on adjustments to the core parts of the loop, because we just went over the 3 major mechanics, I did want to say I'm mostly positive on them, but there's a few that I'm not going to glaze, I guess. I don't hate them, but I don't think that so far I haven't felt the benefit of them. Every weapons kit has been changed and given more moves / utility. I think the highlight to these kit changes are the bow and greatsword, but that's personal bias, as those are my 2 favorite weapons in the beta. The other adjustment was to hit stop, and this is the one I'm not super fond of. But I also don't think it's horrible because of what's been added. They've lowered the hit stop dramatically in this game, so it does feel it's lost that crunch that's so prevalent in most of the games. But it's not all gone, as I think they lowered the hit stop because that crunch comes from focus attacks and offset attacks. As someone who's playing a weapon that has access to all the new mechanics, I don't mind this change, but I do think it negatively impacted some of my old favorites like the longsword, which is more kitted out than ever, but is missing that oomph from the previous games due to it not having power clash or offset. So it's like, you get to be more anime, but at what cost?
Yeah.
And for me, the cost was the feeling of power. What did you feel about like the overall like changes to weapon kits and and the changes to hit stop and stuff?
As for the changes to hit stop, I again as a bow user, I don't notice it as much. So I'll have to go back and check Rise and World to see how much hit stop is in certain attacks.
I don't think range got affected by it because it's never had hit stop.
Then I don't notice it as much. And with Charge Blade, or melee weapons in general, I'm playing them for the first time in a long time. Because I started off Rise with a greatsword and haven't been there in a while. But I've seen enough videos to know that I do think that the change in hit stop's not great for feedback. I'm not sure why they made the change, since they've always kind of been big on having satisfying hit stop like crunch. And it could just not be in the game yet, So
that's true. Again, this is a much older build. So I keep forgetting that. So the hit stop could be fixed in the main game, but I still feel the hit stop. That's why it's weird. Because like the offset attacks have that hit stop that feel really crazy and big. But like, not gonna lie, true charge slash, like while it's better than ever because you can always hit them, it does not feel as heavy as ever. And so it was less satisfying.
I wonder what changes to the environment caused them to have to pull back on that to ensure that the information between characters or like between hunters is what's the word, shown correctly. So I'm very interested to see what they do with the full release. I'm not holding off on them. I do believe that they will take feedback on this and make some changes. Just depends on how much they will change. Whereas the weapon changes, like their new iterations, I think that some weapons got changed better than others. I think that Charge Blade got some fun additions. Bow is completely different.
I love bow
than bow's ever been. I like it mostly, but I think I've fallen too in love with Dodge Bolt. There's a move in Rise that allows you to attack while dodging. That just made the bow the coolest thing ever. And they took that away. And so that's the one gripe I have with the bow. Everything about it is better except they took away the coolest move it had.
I was going to say, I feel like they kind of had to, though. I think bow is, as much as people complain about longsword, like in Wilds and how it's overkitted, I was like, dude, bow was so overkitted in Rise. Like, I love playing it, but I'm also like, this is kind of easy mode.
Yeah, it is. It's satisfying because of how, like, it is an omni tool, and the whole point of Wild is to bring two tools, one to cover the other. So you're just not supposed to use the bow to cut off tails. You're supposed to use the melee weapon that you brought, which makes 1,000% sense. You just take away from one of my fun toys. So I'm just like, I'm going to be sad.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I feel like, I will say though, I do think that like most of the weapons have incorporated a lot of the bonuses that Rise had.
Yes.
Like not Charge Blade, Switch Axe. I play Switch Axe in Rise. And I played it for a bit in Wilds. And it was crazy to see that a lot of the switch skills, which were unique to Rise, are now just part of the kit.
Yeah.
In Wilds, and I was just like, oh, that's really good. I just didn't think it was. I will say I didn't, like you were saying, some changes got better than others. I didn't feel like, even though they made those changes, Switch Axe doesn't feel very different.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate. It's funny you say that. That move from Rise made it into the normal kit for Switch Axe, because he did something similar with bow. From World, you had the slinger shot, like shotgun attack that they added in Iceborne, which is just part of the kit now, where you just shoot out at you get an array of like I want to say like 5 to 7 arrows, and you shoot them off. And if you have the piercing shot, they all home. So they did that thing where they took moves that people really enjoyed from Rise and World and just put them in the kit, which is very cool.
Yeah. But other than that, that's the last I have to say about the Wilds beta. I'm very excited for the main game. Do you have any like final thoughts on it?
No, I just hate that I have to wait.
Yep. Same. All right, well, let's get on over to Dragonage the Veilguard, the other game we've been playing. I was going to say my overall rating on this game is good. I'm liking it. How about you? What's your overall feelings?
Yeah, I like it. I'm surprised by how much I like it. I understand the criticisms very much, but despite the criticisms, they built a world that is enticing for me to come back to, and combat that is more satisfying than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to start with the pros on this one, because I'm about even on pros and cons on this. So starting off, stunning visuals is the first thing. While the art style is a bit jarring at first for the character models, I found the environments immediately inspiring. From rain-soaked stone streets, eternally autumn forests, and gorgeous coastal regions, I've never been let down by where I've gone. The character models are also incredible in their own ways. The hair on each character is without equal in the video game medium at this point. It's lush, detailed, and has fantastic physics that really make it stand out even amongst the titans of graphic powerhouses. While I said the art style was jarring at first, once I acclimated to it, I did find the characters charming and unique in their designs. I think the art style really helps with making unique-looking characters so you don't feel like you're running to the same type of character on your journey.
Yeah, I think to give a term to the characters in the game, I think they're all ugly cute.
Yeah.
So going into the game, I was surprised by how simple yet complex they all look, and I understand the art direction when putting them in the environments that they're in. And I actually think that I only really have a problem with the characters, anything that has to resemble like a human, like their face and everything, but the armor and everything looks amazing. Yeah. I have no complaints about the art direction on the armor and the clothing and anything that they're wearing. But yeah, I understand the complaints, but I do think that after getting acclimated, I find them all to be perfectly fine to look at.
Yeah, same here. The next positive for me is movement is another highlight. The walk and run speed is fantastic in this game, and taking my time to soak in the environments while I walk was an immersive experience for me. I really enjoyed it. The multiple ways your character Rook interacts with the world was also a welcome surprise, as most RPGs don't go this far to make several unique animations when interacting with the environment, and it's something that really impressed me. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about like the movement and such in the game?
Yeah, movement wise, I have some gripes with like start and stop velocity. I think that Rook takes a little too long to stop, and so if I want to like run just a little bit, he'll run further than I wanted him to do, and that happens often. I even changed my NVIDIA Reflex Plus, turned that on just to check to see if that made any changes, and it did. But he still has still a little bit of momentum that it takes for him to stop walking. I think that's my one specific gripe with the game is the momentum he retains when he's running.
I was going to say, it's funny, I never noticed that, but I also, usually when I stop, I
like pull back.
Yeah, so my character doesn't usually naturally stop, so I actually haven't even paid attention to that. So that's actually valid. I'm going to take a look at that when I play it later.
Yeah, that's the only issue I have with the movement, but outside of that, I do like you said, the interactability, running, and him vaulting over like small things, I think is really cool. I think the way that he interacts with like angles is nice. I've noticed that he like leans forward or leans back. But yeah, overall, I don't mind the movement at all.
Yeah. Next up is combat. Combat is a personal highlight for me, as I find it to be one of the game's greatest strengths. I've played the 3 classes, which are Warrior, Mage, and Rogue, and found them all to be very satisfying and varied enough to not feel like they're the same with just a different accent to them. Mm-hmm. My personal favorite is the Mage, with its satisfying loop of contaminating your enemies with arcane and then using your spell blade to detonate. Mm-hmm. Combo moves with your companions is satisfying, but I will say it doesn't hit the highs that your character does on their own. But I appreciate the option and variety it gives, even if I did want a little more.
Yeah. So with the character interaction, because I played a lot of Inquisition, not really controlling them and essentially them being an extension of you. You're pretty much picking what additional spells and reactions do I want to mix with what I'm currently doing. And that kind of feels more limiting as a team, but more expansive as a character. And so I don't mind it. I just have to retool my brain to think of it more like an action game with extensions rather than full party members. Totally fine. I can deal with that. And I do like the combat. It has the same type of progression to me that Mortal Kombat had with that I had with Mortal Kombat, in the sense where there is a stiffness to the characters that has to be piloted properly. If you go in just mashing buttons and like mashing your dodge and mashing your attacks and whatnot, you're going to keep getting hit because you actually do get animation locked, especially in your charged attacks. So if you take a second to pull back and remember that this animation is going to lock me, this one's going to put me here, this is going to do that, and choose them properly, then you get a really satisfying outcome. So it's similar to like I said, Monster Hunter and Mortal Kombat, where barreling head first will get you negative results. And I can see how that can be frustrating for some people, but properly making decisions is extremely satisfying. So I do like the combat.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you on that. Now, I did want to just give you an option. Do you have any other like major positives for it? Because that kind of ends it for me on that, and then I'm going to move into cons.
No, that's about all the. I would say all the positives I have. The game is less annoying than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I was going to say I only have two negatives.
Yeah.
Two areas of negativity. The first one is the dialogue and the writing. I found the game's narrative to be okay. But find a lot of the characters and interactions to be pretty underwhelming.
Yeah.
This is a mature rated game in a franchise that has had incredibly dark and heartbreaking plots and story beats. But this game feels so sanitized and soft with the way characters talk to each other. It feels like I'm in therapy with how the companions speak to each other, and not in an enlightening way, in an almost cheesy instructional video on how to not offend others kind of way. Characters will have disagreements, and the lack of tension will be straight up confusing. And before you can even process it, they resolve it by the next dialogue tree. It wasn't a deal breaker for me, thanks to all the positive elements of the game, but this writing just feels too safe, and it negatively impacted how much I bonded with the characters in the game.
Yeah, I'm still fresh into the game, and this is just my impression. There's still a lot to experience and see, so I'm not making a judgment on the entirety of the game, but the opening hours, I do believe you're right. There's a safeness to the dialogue, and it doesn't ever feel like I can truly offend anybody or that they disapprove. Like, how do I say this? When I make a decision and it says that they disapprove, I'm like, yeah, but they'll get over it.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it. Almost every interaction, yeah, they'll be fine. And I do want to feel that sort of feeling that if I make this decision, I'm going to have somebody who I'm probably not going to want to bring along with me in the party because they don't like me, you know? And so, yeah, everything's a little bit safe.
Yeah, and I was going to say it actually leads directly into my second complaint. They're actually just kind of both the same. My problem is that this was advertised as an RPG, but it definitely is not one. This game is not an RPG, and honestly, that's okay with me. I find it be an absolute blast of an action-adventure game, but I wish BioWare would have sold it to me as one. Your character, Rook, is very much a defined character. They are nice. Always. You're given an illusion of choice in the dialogue tree, but it's just flavors of nice guy. It's messianically nice, jokey nice, or straight to the point nice. And there is no option to be rude, gruff, or outright refuse people. I know you haven't gotten to it, and no spoilers or anything because there's tons of characters, but you will meet some of the most abrasive characters in the stories, and you will want to tell them to piss off. But the best you can do is, I'll help you, but I'm not going to be happy about it.
Damn.
And it was frustrating how often this has happened, and I haven't even beat the game. But as I said before, if you go into this knowing it's not going to give you much of a choice, and you like action-adventure games kind of like God of War Ragnarok, I think you will enjoy the game. But I do think that they kind of did themselves a disservice on trying to like say it's your story. It doesn't feel like your story. It feels like Rook's story.
Yeah. No, I messed around with a couple of the options when first interacting with characters and noticed that similarly it was, I'm not that mean of a person. You know? So I've pretty much gone with the jokey option every time.
Same.
Because it's like, well, I'm a rogue. I'll be a lovable rogue and I'll be nice or kind of like, what's the word? Sassy to everybody.
Yeah.
and I'll just enjoy that. It's pretty safe when it comes to decision making, which I will say on the other spectrum is it doesn't bother me that much because I get caught up on decision making a lot in games. So having that freedom to sort of just know that most of my decisions are going to be similar, or the way the outcome's going to be similar, allows me to just kind of get through it a little bit faster. For better or for worse, it's less pressure for each conversation that I have.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I will say, does it speak my language is the main question I ask myself after 35 hours. I still think it's too early to tell, as I've heard the final act of the game is incredible. So I'm going to reserve my judgment until I see the end, but I am optimistic that I will based on the journey so far. Because again, these negatives are negatives, but they don't override the positive feelings I have with the game. I think it is a very fun action-adventure game.
Yeah, I find myself wanting to play it and kind of bummed when I don't get to. Mm-hmm. So overall, that means that I like the game somewhat. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, that's our impressions for both of these games. Next up, you brought a special game to today's episode. What game is that, Troy?
Uncharted 2. I love that game. I love that game so much. That is, I want to say, the first time that I experienced a sort of like a story theatrical sort of driven game, and I didn't even realize how much I love them. So
yeah,
I remember watching on YouTube some of the clips from the game because I didn't get it right when it came out.
Yeah,
and I didn't even play Uncharted 1 before I played Uncharted 2.
Same.
Yeah, and I just remember watching clips and I was like, I have to have this game. I don't know what it is. I don't know much about it. I saw the scene between Nadine and Drake, and I'm like, I just love the way that the characters are speaking to each other. Everything seems authentic, and I had to get it. So I ended up getting a PlayStation, I think it was 3, right? PlayStation 3, so I can play it.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that. My cousin Steven, which shout out to him, he showed it to me because I had an Xbox, he had a PlayStation. And he showed me Uncharted 2, and that was the first time I was like, did I make the wrong choice? Because I thought that game was incredible. The first time I saw it, I was just like, this is a movie. Because the first scene I ever saw was when they're in the like desert city, and he's like running from the truck and shooting it. I was just like, dude, I'd never get to do this in Gears of War or Halo. This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's a pretty special, it's a very special game. I think it's one of the like forefathers of the like interactive movie games, but in a good way.
Yeah.
I don't mean to, we know some people like to hate on like movie games, but I think Uncharted and like a lot of Naughty Dog games are like the pinnacle of it. They do a very good job. So you did say that the character interactions is what like kind of got you into it.
Yeah.
What are other things that were like, once you did finally get to play it, what stood out so much to you to make it like one of your favorite games?
What stood out, and still is something that I look for in games nowadays, is the rush of there's so much going on that you have to worry about and do. It's the set pieces, of course. Like that game had amazing set pieces from the train. One of my favorites is in the game, there's this point where you're sliding on this bridge that's breaking, and I think it's in Shambhala, I think is where you're
at the end of the game.
Yeah. And so there's a bridge that's breaking, and all of these guys are trying to attack you, and you're sliding on this breaking bridge while shooting them and looking out for things, and just that attacking all of my, like, not my senses, but like having all my neurons activate to try and overcome this like messy situation was something that consistently happened in the game that made me realize that I love that.
Yeah, you saying that actually made me think of something where I'm like, unlike most shooters at the time, this game was very much like a movement shooter. I know Doom gets that a lot because it's all about moving, but this game made that feel cinematic while you did it. Because I like remember when you said Shambhala, I'm thinking about the village right before you go to Shambhala, and you're dealing with like the tanks invading.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole village is coming down. And I remember just moving from cover to cover, having to pop people, but be like, I can't stay here. Yeah. They're going to kill me. I gotta move.
Yeah. It was true run and gun. Like, and there was just many moments like that. I mean, I could talk about the helicopter attacking you inside the, I think you were in some type of like, I don't know if it's a skyscraper, but I remember like there's desks and everything sliding past you and you're fighting this helicopter. There's obviously the train sequence at the end, which was phenomenal. But it was a game that really took what, because I didn't really like Indiana Jones back in the day.
Yeah.
I have much more of an appreciation for it now, but like I understood that type of adventure through Uncharted that I assumed that they loved when they watched Indiana Jones. It's that globe-trotting, ancient artifact seeking, like well choreographed, produced, composed adventure.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny you say composed because I was going to just ask you about the music because that's one of my favorite things about Uncharted is that the dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Dun, dun.
Yeah, no, Uncharted had great music. It's unfortunate that I don't remember any of the particular songs or like who composed a lot of the music, which I'm better about nowadays. But at the time, I just accepted it for what it was, and I'd sit on the menu for a little while and listen to it before starting the game.
Yep.
I also I know I'm rambling a little bit, and we'll get into like more specifics soon, but I loved the length of the game. Like I liked where I went, what I did. I liked going back. I don't really like to repeat games, but I repeated that game many times to go and find all the collectibles. It never felt like it was a daunting thing to do. You know, each of the acts or chapters were well paced, and I quite liked them.
I was going to say that's actually our last boss topic is going to be about that. It's about game length. And so it's important. I think it's just interesting that you say that because I'm like, that's how I felt about the game is that it was this well-paced movie adventure. It wasn't a 2-hour movie. Obviously, it's like a 10-hour game. But I felt like it had the way that it was paced. It's like I felt like I was at each location just the right amount of time.
Yeah.
And so it was like once I finished it, it was like, I'm not bored of this place. Take me to the next one. And so when I would replay it, because that's a complaint I had with like Uncharted 4s and Uncharted 3s that they kept you in the same area for too long.
Yeah.
But Uncharted 2 is like this masterpiece of a game to me too, because of like how much different locales it goes, and it never overstays its welcome. It's just they chef's kiss on the pacing on that one, man.
Yeah, dude, it was. There was I'd say my favorite place that I got to go to in that game was I think it was Shambhala. It was leading up to Shambhala. So I know that there was like I forget, I don't know,
like the Tibetan mountains.
The Tibetan mountains, yeah, and you had that the guide who worked with you, and I'm like, I had an emotional attachment to him immediately, and I was like, nothing can happen to you. But going up there and sort of uncovering like something that was a little bit more supernatural. That's another thing about Uncharted that I loved is that it was in this world of realism, but there's like a little sprinkle of fantasy, and it lost that as the games continued on. But in Uncharted 2, like, yes, the what was the superpower could be explained via science in the end in some capacity, but it still was magical in a way. You know,
I mean, yeah, they gave you immortality, but then turned you into monsters for it.
Yeah,
it was very Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones,
because Indiana Jones does the same thing where it's very realistic, but then you get to the Lost Ark and it's like, oh, there's actual spirits coming out of this shit. Like
that is my favorite type of like theme is that sort of like ancient artifacts that can do these mystical things in a modern story. And discovering them and finding out that, it's like a monkey's paw. You find it, but then it ends up hurting you like Pandora's box in some way. And I love that about that game. My favorite shit.
Who was your favorite character in the game?
So Nathan Drake, of course.
Great
but
choice.
Taking him out of the equation, I would say from top to bottom, it was Nadine. Or not Nadine. I call her Nadine all the time by accident.
Chloe,
followed by Flynn, the guy who double
Harry
crossed you.
Flynn.
Harry
Yeah,
Flynn.
yeah. No, I hated that he had my last name too.
Yeah, I liked Harry Flynn because I liked his little trio with them. It was like we like each other but hate each other type of group. So Chloe, Flynn, followed by Sully, then Elena, and so on and so forth. But I really, really liked Chloe. I liked what she added to the added to the dynamic. So one of the things I was always tired with movies back in the day was that you'd have the main character and his love interest in the first movie, and then you'd have a brand new love interest in the next movie, and a brand new love interest in the third movie. And Chloe seemed like that at first until you realize that he like still had love for Elena, and I liked how she recovered from that. Like Chloe wasn't all like, well, I'm still stuck on Nathan kind of thing. She's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go hang out with Sully, I guess.
Yeah.
And she went and did her own thing, and I really, really liked Chloe. I also really liked her design. Something about the red shirt and everything. Everything about her was really cool in contrast to Drake, and that made her one of my favorites. And again, the first scene I saw of the game was him and Chloe interacting. And I don't know, something about their dialogue made me really want to see how their relationship ended.
I was going to say, though, I know you wanted to take Drake out of the occasion, but I mean, this is a game that's special to you. Yeah. What about him makes him your favorite?
It's number one, just his personality. Mm-hmm. You know, his personality is very. It's like Indiana Jones, but not exactly a carbon copy of Indiana Jones.
He's less asshole-ish.
I mean, a lot of my favorite characters in games are similar to him, kind of wisecracky, sort of young, kind of makes mistakes, but kind of still ends up on top in a way. League of Legends, I talked about that. Ezreal's one of my favorite characters. He's almost exactly like Nathan Drake. Mm-hmm. And I liked his design. I always used to wear a necklace with a ring on it. I love that he had the similar design. I liked his like button-up shirt and the holster and just the rolled-up sleeves. Everything about him aesthetically appealed to me too. And he was not a superhero, but did superhero things when he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
It's just like, how are you still... He was a cockroach, and I love that about him. Like, he just was a thorn in the side of every villain. They're like, how are you still alive? I've thrown you out of a plane. I've fucking chased you with a tank. I've done all these things, and somehow you're still here cracking jokes, and you have to die. And I'm like, I just love his persistence.
Yeah.
You know? That's I think he's one of the coolest video game characters.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just always wanted to hear, because he's probably the first main character, I think, that you've actually liked the most. Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, you're usually the biggest fan of side characters, which I love, because then it makes me go, oh, well, I usually don't even pay attention to them. So it's always cool to hear that. But Nathan Drake sticks out, and I'm like, those are qualities that I think are really cool. His persistence, his attitude. When he's down, he just keeps getting back up like a cockroach.
Yeah, like a cockroach. I think I think it's so cool that you start off Uncharted 2. You started off in a train that's gonna fall, and you're bleeding out, and you're in an insurmountable situation. There's no reason you should make it out. You have to, and so you do, and that's just Drake all the time. He has to make it out. He shouldn't. There's no way he should make it out. He has to, and you got to figure it out. And that type of like quality is just so cool in a character.
That's another thing I will say. One of my favorite things about the Uncharted series is the way that they do health. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know, but the director said it's like he never gets shot except for like in those cutscenes. The reason your screen grays out, you're losing luck. That's what you're losing when they're shooting you. They're still missing you, but your character is essentially his luck's running out. Yeah. And then when they actually pop you, that's when you die.
That's when you die?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
And I'm like, that's so cool.
That is very cool.
That's why he doesn't have battle damage, because, you know, Naughty Dog loves attention to detail. But that's one of the reasons why they didn't do damage on him, is because they're like, well, no, he's technically not supposed to get hit at all. I'm like,
he's a pretty lucky dude.
He is a very lucky dude. Awesome. But we don't have too much time, because we really talked about Wilds a lot.
No worries.
So I want to go into our last boss of this episode, the topic, because I think it ties in to what you were saying. Quality versus quantity. The age-old question in gaming. What is the ideal game length to you? How important is replay value? And what aspects about games makes them valuable to you, or makes them appealing to replay?
That's a tough one. I want to let you lead.
I was gonna say I bring this one up because I always hear people say like $1 an hour or like that they get mad that they hate it, that they spent $50 or $60 on a game that's only 6 hours long, and I'm like, does it not matter what the quality of that experience is? Because like I truly don't even enjoy open world games anymore because of how burnt I've been on like padding. And like even RPGs, it's hard if like the side content's not engaging. I'm just like I'm just not enjoying this. And so I actually feel like it hurts sometimes when it's too long. Now I don't like games being too short because that sucks. Like spending $70 on a game that is 4 hours hurts. Like you're just like, I liked this, but it was 4 hours. That was a lot of money. So I also find it like kind of hard to measure like what's ideal, what's the perfect amount. I think for me, I like 10 to 15 hours as like the happy medium, as long as it's a quality experience. I think if you're gonna go open world, I'm okay with 30 to 40. I personally, there's only been like maybe 4 to 5 games in my entire life that have gone beyond 60 hours that felt worth it. Ones like Elden Ring, Dragon Quest 11, those kinds of games were the ones that like really stuck out to me, as where I was like, I enjoyed that it took me 80 hours to beat the playthrough. But I also will say, like, I haven't replayed Elden Ring nearly as much as the other Souls games because it takes too long. And that's another thing that I like really value is replayability. That's why Resident Evil games I play all the time, because I'm like, they're 4 to 8 hour games, and they can be even shorter if you skip cutscenes and know what to do. But because they've got such a like engaging loop and an engaging design, I like doing it over and over. Much like Uncharted 2. Uncharted 2 is the only game in the franchise that I've played over 3 times. I've played most of them like twice. But that one I kept going back to because that pacing was so good. Yeah. Every level was fun to play. And then there was no dragging. So I was like, this game, even if it was an hour shorter, I'd like, or, you know, it didn't get 60 hours of like enjoyment out of me. I still am very fine paying $60 for it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an odd thing to measure, but yeah, for me, it would probably be 10 to 15 hours is the ideal game length.
You know, I'd have to agree with you on that time, 10 to 15 hours. I can honestly say I don't like it when I spend $60 to $70 on a game and it's too short. But it all depends on what I buy the game for, you know? So there's a game I recently bought that was $40, and I think you and I played it for about 10 minutes, realized we didn't like it. But I liked the fact that I bought it for the developer, just to support them. And again, it all depends on what I buy it for. I've bought in games that I have no intention of playing because I want to support the developer, and I've seen enough online. I've followed them for long enough. Wayfinder is one of those. I invested in that game. Haven't played very much of it, but that's okay. It wasn't wasting money because I wanted to be part of the support. For my personal like consumption, when it comes to a game, I really like it. If I spend about $60 or $70 on a game, I want it to be the memory of it to be lasting. You know, it's very important. I used to be very much on like, you know, it's got to give me an hour for every dollar, you know, but I've started to learn that doesn't always lead to very good. There's plenty of games I've played. Dying Light, for example, Dying Light 2, that would definitely give me $1 for an hour. Did not like that game. That'd be a painful $1 for every hour.
Yes, it's not a very good good dollar.
Yeah, it's not a very good dollar. You know what I mean? So it's all about the lasting impression. That's important.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Now, I feel like you might already have the answer to this. Before we close, what game do you think is the perfect
amount of money I've paid for a game?
Yeah. What game has the best value?
Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter?
Yeah, Monster Hunter. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's, what do I have? Like, we have like 400 or 500 hours in Monster Hunter World, and I bought Monster Hunter Rise twice. It is something that I can grind on my own and play with my friends. That's really, really important to me. Is I don't really like playing games solo very much. I get bored or I get lonely, so on and so forth. And Monster Hunter is a perfect game of I can play it by myself and I can play it with friends. That's probably the best amount of money I've ever spent on a video game.
You know, I had a different answer in mind, but when you said that, I'm like, no, you're so right.
What did you think?
I thought Resident Evil 4.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that game is like perfectly paced, just like Uncharted.
Yeah.
It was between Uncharted 2 and Resident Evil 4 for me. Those are like the two pinnacles of like value I've gotten in games. But Monster Hunter truly is like there's no better value.
You can play that game so much by yourself and it's fine. And it has some of the best multiplayer, like fun and experience. It's got the creativity. That is like the best money I've ever spent. And it's the only game where I can buy on every platform and not be mad that I did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not mad. I have every one of them on every platform that they're available on. And it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, I've bought Rise like 3 times now.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for answering that. That's going to do it for this episode. So I'm going to close out with video game vocab and then some final credits. So today's vocabulary lesson for you, dear listener, is hit stop. An extremely brief moment where the game pauses for dramatic effect whenever an attack successfully hits. If you increase how many frames an attack's hit stop lasts for, you can greatly exaggerate the power and force of a strike. And usually when you feel like an attack is beefy, it's because of this. All right. Now it's time for final credits, and this week, it's Troy.
Oh my gosh, I have a lot to say.
All right. Well, you know what to do. Read us the...
It's time for the final credits. This is the last part of the show where we give
you
30 seconds
uninterrupted
to say whatever your heart desires.
Be it salty,
sweet,
or say nothing at all.
The mic is mine.
Tell us what's on your mind.
In 3, 2, 1. So, obviously, last time I talked about a game, it was League of Legends. Today, Arcane releases. I recommend everybody go out and watch that show. It is probably one of the best animated things I've ever seen. We're just now starting season 2. It cost them a shit ton of money to make, and we just need them to get as much support as possible. If you've never seen it, go watch season 1, marathon it, watch season 2 today. You will not regret it. It is probably the best video game adaptation ever. Game Language is recorded at Grizzly Voices Studios in Mesa, Arizona. Our producers are Jason Flynn and Troy Brown. Our intro music is our personal track, Penguin Symphony. Our outro music is Jump by Snail's House, also provided by Riot Music. Our editor and sound engineer is Adonis Shipley.